That's an actual gavel. I call the regular meeting of the Warrenville Public Library District Board of Trustees to order. This is Wednesday, April 15th, and it is 7:03 p.m. I'd like to take the roll call. Trustee DeRocher.
Present.
Trustee Luzon.
Here.
Trustee Richardson.
Here.
Trustee Rizika.
Present.
Trustee Stahl.
Present.
Trustee Warren.
Online.
Trustee Tika is also on the line. We are also joined by various staff members, and Sandy, if we need them in the record, I will turn it over to you to announce all of them. And we have a couple members of our public, Tom Pasternak and Jane Scuderi. Obviously, our director, Sandra Whitmer, is on the call as well. And I'd like to take just a minute to thank them for coordinating this call for us and for assembling the big packet of information that we received. And it was quite an effort to combine 2 months, and I thank you. So I'd also like to say before we move on that it will probably help if board trustees, if you would identify yourself before stating your comments. And I know it's going to be a little awkward, but as Sandy indicated, if we could just speak one at a time, that would be great. I'm also going to recommend we go through the business end of the meeting, and then if there's time, people want to socialize, we can do that afterwards. So with that said, we'll move on to point 3 on your agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. I would like to recommend that we eliminate items 18 and 19, I'm sorry, 17 and 18, which are the closed session items. Any other adjustments to the agenda from the trustees?
No.
Rick Warren. I noticed that the consent agenda detail was numbered 7A through 7J, and that should be amended to read 5A through J as needed. That's page 3 in the pamphlet.
Well, the consent agenda calls it out as 5A through K.
Right, the detail on
I see,
page
but the
3.
written shows spot 7.
Oh, yes, we'll
see what
correct
he's
that.
saying.
It's a typo in the packet, yes.
Yes, the packet typo, not the agenda itself.
Understood. Yep.
Okay, is there any other commentary? Otherwise, I'll need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Commentary. I was wondering if this would be in the consent agenda to reschedule that ice cream social with the Spanish-speaking group with the, what do we have in there? You had census and immigration attorney. Is that this, or is this new business?
I would
that
suggest
unfinished business.
Okay. I didn't want that to slip through the crack.
This is Sandy. That is not on the agenda tonight, but I would suggest that that be discussed during the department head reports. You can ask Paul about that, and he can speak to
Right.
that point.
I will do so.
Thank you.
Trustee Rizika, consent agenda. A, approved minutes of February 19th,
Time out.
2020.
Wait,
Regular board meeting to trustees
wait,
meeting. Is that what you want done?
wait.
Cindy?
Wait.
Yes.
No, we just
Sorry.
need to move to approve the consent agenda, which I guess I
Okay.
just did.
Item
I
3.
sec,
No.
that was Jill,
Yes,
Bill?
it was.
Okay. a
and Barbara
second, please?
seconds. Barbara
Thank
seconds.
you. Okay.
Oh, Barb, you
and-
come up as a picture.
Oh, I know, because I use Zoom all the time.
So, Trustee DeRocher,
Yes, aye. Wait a minute.
Trustee
Wait a
Lozano?
minute.
we're approving.
No, wait a minute.
the-
We have
Yes.
to have,
We're on
we have to
item
hear.
3.
We're approving the agenda.
Yes.
The
thank you,
agenda,
Sandy.
okay, aye.
As amended.
Yep. Thank you.
Wait,
Aye. That was Barbara,
Okay.
aye.
there is no revision, I don't know, to the agenda, but we'll
Yes.
move on.
There,
Is
excuse me.
Sandy?
This is
Is
Sandy
there an-
Whitmer. Yes,
Yeah.
you amended the agenda to remove items 17 and 18, the closed session and the discussion of closed session.
Correct, and I did that and don't remember. Sorry. Trustee Luzon,
Aye.
Trustee Richardson,
Aye.
Trustee Razika,
Aye.
Trustee Stoll,
Aye.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
Trustee Tika also votes aye. The agenda is approved as amended. We do have some public on the call. Sandy, did you get any requests for anyone to speak?
I do have one comment that was received via email as instructed. So
Okay.
this comes from Gail Smith, who is one of our employees and also a Warrenville resident. And Gail asks, I was wondering what the board has in mind for our summer events. Are we canceling all group events / gatherings for the entire summer? Summer reading kickoff event, concerts, astrologist, etc. I know some of your decision plays on what the governor as well as the CDC recommend, but I would like to know where we stand now for community safety. And that's the end of her comment.
So
This is Barbara. I would like to respond to that by saying, I would think that you, Sandy, would give guidance on that based on recommendations for reopening. I know that it's really unclear when we'll reopen, but we really can't schedule things, can we, until we know what we're doing?
Right.
this is Jerry, and I'd like to agree with Barbara. I think it's a little too early since they can't even tell us what's going to happen the end of this month. So I'll defer to Director Whitmer, though.
Yes, I will just add the same thing. It's just too soon for us to tell. Certainly, we're discussing things kind of in the background, but until we have more guidance as far as what gatherings can or cannot look like, we really haven't made any firm decisions about our summer events.
This is Sandy. You will receive direction from the state library, state librarian on your meetings on going forward.
So this is Sandy Whitmer again. Not necessarily. Our guidance will come from either the governor's office, the DuPage County Health Department, the Illinois Department of Public Health, or the CDC.
Okay.
Those are the agencies that we're relying on.
This is Rick Warren.
Okay.
Do you also have to renew the discretionary authorization we gave to you for this month, or is this, how often is that done, just so that you can handle it as it comes up in your normal course of business?
Okay, so this is Sandy Whitmer again. That is under our new business items. It's item 8B on tonight's agenda.
Okay.
All right. Moving along, are there any other comments to address to Gail or anything else? Otherwise, this is a personal aside. Hi, Jane. Jane's my neighbor, so I just want to say hi. All right, moving on to number 5, the consent agenda. I'd ask Secretary Luzon to please read for us. Take a deep breath and a glass of water.
Consent agenda. A, approve minutes of the February 19th, 2020 regular board meeting of trustees. B, approve minutes of the March 16th, 2020 special board of trustees meeting. C, receive and file financial reports for February and March. D, approve non-resident library card participation for fiscal year 21, utilizing the tax bill method for calculating of the non-resident fee and the 15% calculation for non-resident renters. E, approve early closure at 5 p.m. on Friday, July 3rd, 2020 for Warrenville Parade. F, ratify acceptance of engagement letter for Sickage LLC for fiscal year 20 audit services. G, ratify payments of invoices in the amount of $55,719.17 for the period of February 20th, 2020 through March 18th, 2020, including electronic payments and checks numbered 754 through 7593, checks number 7554, 7564, 7573, and 7585 are voided. H,
Oh,
approve payment of invoices in the amount of $38,614.57 for the period of March 19th, 2020 through April 5th, 2020, April 15th, 2020, including electronic payments and checks numbered 7594 through 7623. I, ratify March 19th, 2020 transfer of $175,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking account. J, approve transfer of $150,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking account. K, approve revisions of wage scale, including a 2% market adjustment and changes to pay grade assignments effective July 1st, 2020.
I'll
thank you,
second that.
Secretary Lazan, and thank you for catching the typo in item G. And Jackie will give you a pass on the voided. You had 4 and then none. So, okay. Let's get a motion on the table, and then if there's any discussion, we'll proceed. So can I have a motion to?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
And that was Heather?
I second that
Stoll?
motion.
Okay, motion was made by trustee Stoll and seconded by trustee Rizika. So any comments? Okay, then I will take the roll call vote. Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Stoll,
Aye.
trustee Rizika,
Hi.
trustee DeRocher,
Aye.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Pika votes aye, motion carried.
You missed me.
Oh, sorry, trustee Richardson,
Aye.
and I'm looking at it. Okay. Motion carries still. All right, regular agenda item 6. I have nothing listed. Unless there is something, we'll move on to unfinished business. Anything that needs to open for discussion? All right, then we'll move on to new business. Item 8, first is page 40 in your packet, and it is the consideration of the director's recommendation to continue paying full compensation to all employees through May 3rd.
This is Barbara. We
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
have I guess we need to have a motion on the table, except
We
if there's
do.
no motion. There's no motion recommended, so do we need to have a discussion first?
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Sandy, what is the intent there?
So it would be up to you. You could do just a motion based on the new business item, which would be to continue paying full compensation to all employees through May 3rd. That would be an appropriate motion.
All right, I move that we
Or
continue to
perhaps-
pay.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
On page 40, kind of about 2/3 of the way down, there's a bold paragraph
Mhm.
that may have the better
Okay.
language.
Okay. This is Barbara. I move that the board authorize the continued compensation of all employees at their regular rate of pay for their regular authorized hours through May 3rd, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
I second.
This is Heather.
Okay, motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Stoll. Discussion.
I have, this is Barbara. I have 2 questions. The first thing is, in the bullet points on the end of page 41, it talks
Mhm.
about reasons to continue, and it talks about the stresses in the home and stresses in the workplace. I'm wondering if you could elaborate on stresses in the workplace, since they're not at work. So,
I think
Well,
the
I think that
stresses
would
in-
be a stress right there.
I think the stresses in the workplace include the fact some of us are in the building occasionally. The other stresses in the workplace include learning all of this new technology. So there's a very high learning curve for some of our staff. The other stress in the workplace is just the unknowing, I would say, of whether or not our staff are going to continue to get paid, as well as what
okay.
our work life is going to look like when we start to reopen things. I think a lot of our staff are concerned about their health and their safety when we do reopen. So I would say that those are probably the biggest stressors that they have related to work.
Okay. My more important question is, what are the financial implications of doing this? I mean, have we seen any kind of reduction in any of our monies coming through?
We have not seen any reductions at this time. So we have all of the funds that we are going to receive for the current fiscal year. The question is whether the property tax payments will be delayed in the next fiscal year. So that is where we may potentially see income impacted. The county right now is discussing options for allowing individuals to pay their property taxes late. And there is some question surrounding that, whether it will be by application, where individuals would have to prove that they have a hardship, and the county would then authorize them to pay their taxes up to 3 months past the original due date without any penalty. Some county board members, we have heard, are in favor of extending that 3-month delay for all taxpayers in the county. We haven't looked at our cash flow yet. I do believe we have enough reserves in place to manage that particular situation if all payments were to be delayed. However, it would put us in a very tight fiscal situation.
So are you talking about the contingency that we have created, that money might be able to cover it?
Not the contingency. We have a fund balance policy that requires we keep 25%, which is
Yes.
3
Yeah,
months
okay.
worth of funds available.
Right.
So we
Okay.
would have to rely on that 3-month balance to carry us over.
Well,
With
it's
the-
honestly, I mean, we didn't have that when I was a new board member, so yay us for having it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And,
And this is why we have it.
Yep.
yes, this is why we have it. So I have to say that I really do agree with all of your bullet points about why we should continue. And if we're going to be able to cover it, even with a delay in the property tax payments, then I would support this.
This is Heather, and the one question I had is then, will we be able to make those payments back into the special reserve fund from when we do get the property taxes if they are delayed?
So this is Sandy Whitmer. We would not be using funds from the special reserve fund.
Oh.
We have a fund balance in our operating fund, which would cover
that's-
some of that.
Mhm.
And then we also have a different fund. And while we probably wouldn't do a transfer of monies, on paper, there would be a deficit in our operating fund until those other, the tax payments would come in. So
Okay.
it would just
That
be a
would
delay.
be, this is Barbara, that would be okay with the auditors?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure they're not going to slap our wrists.
Well, they may, but things have to hit. Sandy, this is Jerry. This is a totally unrelated question, but before I forget it, have you seen anything about the payment of our loan? Is that been extended, or will it be extended? Am I saying that properly so you understand what I'm asking?
Yes. So this is Sandy Whitmer again. Yes, we have not heard anything. So those payments for the loan that we took out for the renovation will be due as planned. However, when we look forward to next year's budget, I am going to recommend that we use some of the developer donations that are being held by the city at this time to pay for next year's principal and interest on those loans. So that will alleviate some of the pressure on our operating budget next year.
Okay,
Great
just was
idea.
curious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Sandy Lizan talking. The question I have is, when you do, right now, some of your staff are working less hours. When we do reopen, I assume there will be more work to do because of the big influx of books being returned and stuff. How are you going to deal with that time and pay?
So we have not determined exactly how that will happen. However, the expectation would be if there is work to be done, employees would be expected to report to the library and for their regular scheduled hours if the work is available for them to do. Libraries are looking at kind of, I'm calling it ramping back up to normal services. So our services aren't going to look quite as they did the day we closed our doors. There's a possibility that we'll be doing some curbside service initially, and then reopening the library to the public with some social distancing in place. So I'm following very carefully what other libraries are doing. We're also looking to what's happening in China. Someone suggested that on another day, how they're reopening restaurants and that sort of thing. And I'm paying very close attention to what the grocery stores right now are doing. I think some of what they're doing is going to apply to us as well. So we're not quite sure exactly what that's going to look like, but my expectation would be, Sandy, as you've said, yes, there will be more work to do. I think the type of work to be done is going to be different. So some of our individuals who are not working a lot of hours right now are shelvers, for instance, who really handle the materials in the building, and that's not a possibility right now. They will have a pretty heavy workload when we reopen our doors, where some others may continue to do some of the online and virtual services that they're doing right now.
This is Sandy Lizan again. What I was referring to is like, will they be getting overtime pay then?
I don't expect that. I expect that we may be calling on some of our staff who don't normally handle materials to be handling some of those materials and pitching in and however they can to help us keep up with those extra duties.
Okay.
Sandy Whitmer, this is Rick Warren. Would it be appropriate for us as trustees to assist with this?
That's certainly something I haven't considered, but we would consider that, absolutely. There may be a possibility for using volunteers. I would have to just double check with our insurance to see what kind of liability would be involved in that, but I appreciate that offer.
Wouldn't that be covered under the policy that we have for trustees and directors?
That's a different kind of insurance, I believe.
Oh.
It is.
Okay.
So the volunteers are actually covered under our property insurance, but these are very interesting and different times. And there are some serious health implications that we would have to make sure that you have, we have protective equipment and procedures in place. There are some libraries are looking at actually setting up teams of staff, and my staff who are on the call, we haven't discussed any of this at all with any of us because it's just been too soon to make any decisions. But some libraries are setting up teams so that all the people on a team work together, so that if one of them does happen to become infected with the virus, that whole team would shut down and be isolated. But then we wouldn't lose the entire workforce, and it would be easy to track that. So there are definitely some things that we need to consider before we reopen. And we just, like I said, things keep changing. I try to make a plan in my head, and the next day everything, all the information changes or shifts a little bit so that the plans I thought I had are no longer plans. So I'm trying to work on like a 2-week cycle here. So about every 2 weeks I revisit and say, is it time to discuss these things, or should we wait for another week or two? Just lots of information.
Trustee Rosika. there's 10 on the statistics, 10 coronavirus cases in Warrenville, 10, just 10.
That's a lot for the
sorry.
size of Warrenville.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that comment, Trustee Rizika?
There are 10 stated coronavirus cases in Warrenville, Illinois.
In Warrenville. Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion on trustees?
This is Jill. I had a question.
Please.
First of all, I totally agree with Barbara that I think these are a great idea for our staff. They need the support. But my question is, are our expenses also down? Because I noticed between the two expense reports we just got that there was a lot of difference.
There are differences between last month's and this month's expenses. I don't know if they can be wholly attributed to the closure, but there are some savings occurring. Definitely energy savings. We're not in the building, so the lights aren't on all day. There are definitely some savings occurring, but some of those savings are being shifted into things like more ebooks and e-resources. So chances are we'll probably save a little bit of money at the end of the year. We'll be under budget for sure, but I don't know that it will be significant.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions, comments? And for the record, I also agree with Director Whitmer's recommendation and the bullet points on page 41. And it sounds to me, Sandy, as if you are spending quite a bit of time on research, benchmarking, networking, reading reports to keep us on track to when the best time to open for both our public and, most importantly, our employees. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Can I just,
So,
do you mind if I add
please.
something or ask a question here?
and it is,
I wasn't sure prior to this meeting how the trustees all felt about paying the staff, so I appreciate your support of the staff. My recommendation was to pay through May 3rd, which takes us to the end of, we're almost at the end of a pay period. It would be through another pay period. Now, because we have the funds available and budgeted, if the board feels it would be appropriate, you could certainly change my suggestion and vote to pay the staff for a longer period or even through the end of the current fiscal year. I can leave that up to you if you'd like to discuss it, or we can revisit it if we have this special board meeting on the 29th of April.
so, comment to Sandy's latest statement, please.
This is
And
Heather, and I would fully support paying through the end of the fiscal year if we have the funds. And that way then we don't, I mean, we would be paying them anyway, no matter when we decide to ramp up or reopen.
This is Jill. I agree with that. I think we all have expressed in various times that the biggest strength of this library is its staff. And I think we don't want to lose that.
And this is Jerry. I agree with both the previous statements and the fact that there are more positives of paying until the end of June than starting to limit pay. That didn't come out very well, but you guys know what I meant.
This is Barbara. So if we did decide to extend it till the end of the fiscal year, we would not have to have that April 29th meeting, I'm assuming. But
That's
I'm still a little worried. I know I'm still absorbing your answer about using the funds that we have set aside. I'm still just a little worried about the financial implications for the library. But I'm not sure that meeting again in 2 weeks is going to give us any different of a picture at all.
Yeah.
So
Who knows, right?
I mean, we have to be good fiscal stewards. And, but on the other hand, you've already stated that we have money set aside, and this is exactly the kind of scenario that we have that money set aside for. So
Exactly.
I mean, although none of us ever imagined this kind of a scenario,
But the day is here.
The day is here. And so I just kind of went around the block with my comments, so I'll just shut up now.
You feel good though now about your comments. So now, are there any other comments so that we know whether to vote on the May 3rd, or is it the consensus of the board to change it to June 30th, 2020?
This is Sandy Lazan, and I was going to say right now we're in the budget year. We have the money in the budget to pay. We'd be paying them if they weren't at work anyway.
That's
So,
Sandy Whitmer's point. Yeah.
I just say we continue through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay, so
Do
I
we
would
need
like
a
to
new
amend-
motion for that?
Did I make
Please.
that motion? Yes, I did. I'll
Yes,
amend
you
the
did.
motion. So I move that the board authorize the continued compensation of all employees at the regular rate of pay for the regular authorized hours through the end of the current fiscal year, which is June 30th, 2020. Is that correct?
2020. Yes, ma'am, it is. Can I have a second to the amendment?
This is
Second.
Heather and I
I second.
second.
Okay.
Cindy
well,
Rosika.
3 of us seconded.
Okay,
Oh.
that's fine.
I feel like we haven't heard from Rick.
I'm in agreement with this. I think we should still have a meeting towards the end of April just to touch base with each other, find out, since we'll have a couple more weeks worth of information, and we'll know whether the second wave is about to hit or not. Because people haven't been
Yeah.
playing by the rules, apparently, as far as distancing. And when this opens up, if it's rolled out even slowly, I think everybody's going to jump on it and take off. I've got all kinds of kids running around playing together in my area. So I think that we might not be out of this as quick as we think we are.
Okay.
But through the end of the fiscal year, we got the money. Let's do it.
Thank you, Rick. And this is Jerry. We can have a little further discussion, if you wouldn't mind, when we get to item C, which is the consideration of that meeting. But
Okay.
I think we're all in agreement to adopt this resolution. So I will take a roll call vote to confirm. Motion was made as amended, I don't know if that's right, by Trustee DeRocher and seconded by Trustee Stoll. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Stoll.
Aye.
Trustee Rosika.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee DeRocher.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
And Trustee Tika also votes aye. Motion carries. And now further discussion about a meeting on April 29th. This is a discussion item on your agenda. We've had Rick's comments. Others, please.
Jerry, I think there's
That's
a,
not the next one.
Yeah,
No.
that's line B.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, Siri just went off. We need to take step to page 43. And that is a discussion delegating authority to make actions and decisions. Sandy, I'm going to turn this discussion over to you since you have talked with the attorney. You have provided us with a copy of the resolution.
yes. So your option here, basically this is reiterating the direction you gave at the special board meeting on March 16th with the addition of a couple things such as transferring funds and a few other pieces. But your choice is to that you can delegate this authority either to me as the library director or to Jerry as the board president. So I am, of course, happy to accept that delegation. I'm pretty close to most of these day-to-day things that would happen. And I hope that you would trust that I wouldn't do anything extreme without bringing it back to the board.
This is Barbara. Sandy, could you just clarify for me the reason why we need to do this? Because I'm really I feel like we already do this. So how is this resolution any different than the way we operate?
So
Good question.
it's not much different than the way we operate. For instance, at tonight's meeting, you ratified payments that were made in March after we canceled that board meeting. So we do some of that regularly. This just formalizes that. I would say
Okay,
typically I don't like to
just-
transfer money without the board's approval. So that's one thing
Okay.
that will make me more comfortable, I would say. Also, if when it comes to reopening, basically you're trusting us to make some decisions about hours, staffing duties, et cetera. And you're right, those typically fall under my purview. But this just, it's a document that he suggested we have in place for this, again, unusual situation.
Okay, I just
Could that
needed a little
unusual-
clarification.
Yep, thanks, Barbara.
I'm sorry, Barbara. This is Jerry. Could that also include the fact that we may not have a quorum available for a meeting?
Yes, it could include that type of a situation.
Okay. All right.
This
We
is
will
Sandy
need,
Luzon speaking.
yes,
There was an issue on the form. Jerry, you listed as president and Heather is listed as secretary.
Oh, you're correct.
Oh,
well,
And
good.
I
I
signed
want
that
to
this
sign and send
afternoon.
this
And
one.
she signed it today. So we'll fix that. Jackie can take care of that tomorrow and we'll get it taken care of. Sorry, we missed that. Thanks, Sandy.
Okay,
Good catch.
this is Barbara again. I just I just recently watched the whole thing that happened in Dixon, Illinois. I watched a documentary about it.
Yes.
So I am thinking about checks and balances. So if we do adopt this resolution, how do we ensure checks and balances?
Well, you will see, for instance, the bill list in the next month, which Heather today, for instance, went through all the checks and checked them against the list. You'll get the treasurer's report the following month. So those are documents that you should be looking at, I think.
Okay.
I think sharing that
Okay.
information.
I'm just trying to
don't-
make sure that we're
We don't have to do this if you prefer not to. But I think
no.
we run the
If this is the advice of our attorney, then it's reasonable. I just want to be sure we aren't putting ourselves in some kind of a situation where, yeah, and never mind.
Nope.
It's fine.
No, it's not necessary to apologize or never mind, because that's your job to make sure that those types of things don't happen. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
This is Jill.
Okay.
It's temporary, right? I mean,
It is temporary and
Yeah.
it needs to be extended every time the board meets.
right. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
So if at any time you feel this isn't working, you just don't act on extending it and it ends right there.
Okay.
And I may be speaking out of turn, this is Jerry, but Sandy, I presume you will continue to update the trustees on decisions of any significant magnitude that are made during the length of this agreement.
Yes, I would say anything that's out of the usual operations,
Yes.
I will keep you apprised of that.
This is Rick Warren. What kind of method would you choose if you need to call a special meeting?
Like we did the last time, I would,
Well, that was before we all got locked down and there was no formal closing of anything.
But the calling of it would be the same.
Right, telephone call, email.
Right.
All right.
Typically, I reach out to Jerry. She as a president is the one who has the authority to call a special board meeting. And once she and I discuss it, that's when I reach out to all of you, whether it's by phone or email. If there's a special board meeting, chances are I'm going to give you a phone call because I want to make sure I talk to you and make sure you receive the message.
And the quorum's the same?
Yes, the quorum would be the same as for a regular board meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I move that
So
we
we-
adopt the resolution this is Barbara. I move that we adopt resolution R217, resolution delegating authority to make decisions.
Can I have a second, please?
Second,
Who is the first female voice? That's the one. I
Sandy
heard.
Lazan.
Sandy Lazan.
Thank you. All right, motion was made by trustee DeRocher and seconded by trustee Lazan. Trustee Lazan.
Hey,
Aye.
excuse me, this is Sandy
Now, I
Whitmer.
should ask you, Sandy, go ahead. I'm sorry. I should ask if there's any more commentary.
Yeah, can you amend that motion or let us know specifically that you're delegating authority to the library director? Is that
so
okay with
sorry.
you?
Yeah. So,
Can we just amend it, or do I need to state it again?
You don't have to state it. I just will put it into the minutes that way, if that's okay with both Barbara and Sandy.
Yes,
Fine with me.
Okay, thank you.
fine with Barbara.
thank you, Sandy. Trustee Lazan, you want to still vote?
Aye.
Trustee DeRocher.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Stoll.
Aye.
Trustee DeRosica.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Pika also votes aye. Motion carries. And if you think this is easy, it's pretty awkward, trust me. All right, now we'll go to 8C, which is the consideration of agenda items for an April 29th meeting. We've had some discussion, further discussion, direction.
I feel, this is Heather, and I feel that we do need it because at that point we'll have further information as to what we may need to do to take action to either say reopen or if we still need to shelter in place.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Stoll. Other comments, please?
This is Sandy Lazan, and I think we should just kind of keep it up in the air. If Sandy and you, Jackie, feel we need to have it, then we have it. If we don't, then we don't.
Okay, others?
Just hypothetically, what's the line of succession on this if Sandy should be unavailable or incapacitated?
Oh my God.
I don't know the answer to that question. I think you would have to, Jerry would have to call a special board meeting and you'd redo it.
Well, Rick, are you referring to Sandy Lazan's comment that Jackie and Sandy would determine if it was needed, or are you directing
No,
your
Jerry,
comments
you.
back?
Jerry, you
wait.
and Sandy.
Oh, I heard Jackie and
No.
Sandy. Okay. So my question still is on the table, Rick. Are you referring to Sandy and myself or back to the resolution we just passed?
Well, it would refer back to what was just passed. It talks about effectively, immediately, the library director is vested with authority to make decisions. But if she should suddenly be incapacitated, then there is nobody in line to follow up on that.
Sandy, did you talk to Roger about that?
No, I did not.
That might be something to do just because.
Well, I would have to agree with, this is Barbara, I would have to agree with Sandy's comment that Jerry would have to call a special meeting, and we would have to revise it to name probably Jerry or somebody else, if it made sense to name someone else.
And this is Sandy Whitmer again, and I would agree with that course of action. We do have a very capable management team that I'm sure could be delegated some of those duties, but some things probably would have to fall to the board president.
Sandy, don't get sick.
No, I'm trying not to.
So back to the item 8C. This is Barbara.
Yeah.
I would like to agree with what Sandy Lazan said. I don't think that we should necessarily schedule it. I think we should wait to see if it's felt that it's needed.
Okay,
Part of that is a little bit selfish, just because I am working so much right now. And it's just hard to get to meetings like this. So I don't want to schedule it if we don't absolutely need it.
okay. Trustees Richardson, Ratzika, any comments?
Yeah, I
None.
tried to comment, but I got kicked out of the meeting, so I
Oh, no.
don't
Oh my
know.
God.
I don't know what just happened in the last 2 minutes or so.
So here, I
Well,
didn't
we all
really-
agreed that Sandy cannot possibly get sick because then, you know, I'll have to help with delegating all these things in the amendment we just passed. And then Barbara chimed in and said that she believes the 29th should be only if needed.
Yes, that's
That
when I
was-
got back.
That was Sandy Lazan's suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, as you know, I'm all for not having meetings if, you know, not necessary.
I knew that, Jill.
This is Sandy
So-
Lagan. If everything keeps changing every day, you know, maybe we would need that meeting to discuss opening. Maybe we'll need that meeting to decide to stay closed longer. Who knows? Everything is just changing. I think we just need to be flexible.
Right, I agree, and we've trusted Sandy with those decisions, so I think she can handle this one too.
I agree, and I think my suggestion would be to keep it in the back of your mind that it may be necessary for us to meet on the 29th, and then it may not be, depending on the situation. So that's the best I can offer. Anyone else?
This is Sandy Whitmer. I'll just say I have to concur with that. And I can certainly keep all of you informed by email as to what we're doing in terms of reopening and what that might look like at that time. I honestly don't think there will be much to discuss about that on the 29th.
I don't either. So, any more discussion regarding new business item 8C? Okay, if not, then I'd like to turn the meeting over to Director Whitmer to report. You have a couple months worth. I don't know what you'd like to share with us from your report, but the floor is yours.
I'm just going to say to try to keep this meeting as brief as possible. I think you can see from my report that everybody has been working, even though we're closed, whether it's just doing webinars to learn more about our library services, or some of our staff are continuing to do collection development. Others are doing some virtual programming. Kathy is keeping our social media going strong, as well as she's increased our e-newsletter from a monthly publication to a weekly publication. Everybody really is pitching in here to make sure that the library stays some semblance of a library and offering services to our community, which is great. But I don't know if anybody had any other questions. I would just open it up if anybody had any questions or concerns about anything in my report this month.
This is
I would just
Barbara.
like to-
Sorry.
Please. No, go ahead.
I just keep piping in here. Sorry. This is Barbara. I wondered about in the member services section about the $19,000 in extended use fees. Is that like a normal amount, or is that the amount with everybody having everything checked out and they're all accruing fees because of that, because of this closure?
That is the amount that has been accrued since the time that we wiped everyone's fines off of their accounts, which was about 3 years ago. So over that 3-year period, $19,000 has accrued over that time.
Wow.
So it's over.
So that's not really including the fees that would be normally accruing during this time, because they aren't accruing during this closure time.
That is correct.
I just wasn't clear on that. That's a significant amount. Wow.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and my other question, or my other comment, Sandy, was I think it's really a great use of the Alba Limos gift fund to use it for the expenditure of or to increase support to the Hoopla platform. I think that's a great use of that money.
Thank you very much.
This is
That's all.
Jerry, and sorry, Barbara, I thought you were done.
I
That's
was.
all? Oh,
Yep.
I have two comments. First of all, it is obvious to me, to second what Sandy said, that from all the departmental reports that everyone is really pitching in and trying to maintain a semblance of order. There's a lot of great training being done, a lot of different things being done to accommodate our public. I did want to ask one question, Sandy. When I read about the concert being ready to go, is there any validity in the idea that those concerts might be delayed for 1 month if the people who sign contracts can accommodate a change in date, those who are in June?
That's one of those too early to tell things. I haven't even broached that subject. There's a possibility that the city will tell us that we cannot hold those types of summer events. So we're, again, they're waiting for information, we're waiting for information. It's possible that we could negotiate to reschedule them either later in the year or even next summer, but because those are grant funds, they're tied to the city's fiscal year. So we'll work together on that probably in the beginning of May.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Sandy? I know some of the managers are on the phone. I think if there's any questions about their reports. I did have a facilities one for Jackie Davis. Do you have any updates on the status of any of these things that are in project, such as, is everything just on hold until further notice, or where are we? Particularly items on page 56.
Okay, Jackie, one minute.
Hello, this is Jackie.
Whoa.
Hi, Jackie.
Whoa.
Wait, am I coming through loud?
You're very loud.
Okay,
Really loud.
okay. The boiler full repair has been put on hold. As Sandy and I discussed it, we didn't know if we wanted those workmen in the building. However, we did have the fire alarm, sprinkler, and Otis elevator guys in there yesterday morning. So I think maybe Sandy and I don't know if we need to discuss that again, whether we want to schedule it to have it done while no one's there. I mean, Lee is there with them.
I was just curious. Thank you.
A hinge arrived for the men's restroom partition door, and he's fixed that. Let's see what else. The elevator got a new phone board put in yesterday since the volume in the phone never worked very good.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jackie, for including that information. I appreciate it. I was just curious.
Jerry, I do have something I need to ask that's on the director's report. Can I back up a little bit?
You absolutely should.
So this is Barbara again. Sandy Whitmer, I'm wondering if you have, I'm referring to the SWAN membership section that you wrote about.
Okay.
Do you have any sense of a timeline? Has it changed a lot because of this closure? Or, I mean, when do we think that we're going to actually launch this? Or is it impossible to tell?
No, that project is actually moving forward on the timeline that we expected. Currently, Cynthia and I are meeting with the other libraries and the SWAN staff every other week to keep that project moving forward. The expectation is that the SWAN membership will vote to accept us as new members in June, and we will work on a process to transfer our data, get that cleaned up and set up, train our staff. And the plan is that we would be on that new system sometime at the end of the year, in November or December.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes, so am I. And honestly, all of our discussions with them, as well as some of the general membership meetings that I've sat in on, just simply indicate that that is really an excellent decision for the Warrenville Library. Not only will it open up resources to all of our residents, there are so many positive things, I think, for our staff that we will save some time and energy doing. Just overall positive experience working with them up till this point.
Okay.
That is
great.
excellent. Sandy, I did remember a couple other things. This is Jerry. Can you carry forward this DuPage Monarch project resolution that was part of your report in March? Can we talk about that at another time?
We can certainly, I will probably drop that into a future board meeting after this situation is over with. It's not in my mind, it's not an essential business item.
That's my point. And then the other thing is, I just want a clarification. Are we done with promoting census participation, or is there still a window of opportunity? How do we stand on that?
So our grant activities should wrap up by the end of June.
Oh, we could, okay. That's the answer. You don't need to go any further.
So we'll keep going on that. And the timeline for the census has been extended. So likely that'll continue through the end of December, actually. Not our activity, but the census activity.
But the census, so the things you're doing. Okay. And sorry, guys, no champagne yet, although I don't think any of the figures on the self-checkout are too logical at this point. Any other questions on the report from our department head? A lot to digest there in the papers.
Did Rick had a question earlier.
Yeah.
And now I've forgotten what it was.
I was
the ice cream social.
Oh, yes.
The ice cream social with census in participation with an immigration attorney.
Right. I'm going to unmute Paul here, and maybe the two of us can answer this for you. Paul, do you have anything to say to that point?
About the event itself?
Yes.
It wasn't held, unfortunately, because we had to cancel it for the closure. And we haven't rescheduled it quite yet, just because we don't know when we can get people back in the building. Since the entire program was going to be presented in Spanish by Rocio Berciel, I'm not sure how well it would translate to doing one of these meetings online, if you will. So we're kind of holding off on that one.
Well, I wasn't thinking that it would be a Zoom type meeting,
right?
But that the idea of a social gathering with the ice cream social as a backdrop for it, I thought would be kind of a nice thing to do, provide information and some fun, and also it might be a good opportunity to promote library cards for those that have just showed up to have some ice cream.
Absolutely. That was the original intent of the program.
And I can add,
Jerry.
Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
I was just going to say, can you refresh my memory? I thought the topic of it was related to the census.
Right.
It was.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Bless you. So this is Sandy Whitmer again. And to Paul's point, everything is kind of on hold as far as what we can reschedule. A program like that where we are gathering, we don't know if we're going to be allowed to gather in that format more than 10, 20 people at a time. So until we get word on what we can or cannot do, we're just pretty much in a holding pattern.
I understand that.
Okay. If we could, we would, certainly, but we don't know. And then there are many, Paul could probably tell you, but there are many other pieces to that to get the people lined up who are participating. So it would depend on their availability as well.
I figured as much.
Yep. But thanks for asking. Paul, do you have anything to add to that, or does that pretty much cover it?
No, I think that covers everything. I appreciate the question, though, Rick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perhaps it's a item for future opportunity when we return to a somewhat new normal. whatever that may be. All right, anything else on the departmental head reports or Director Whitmer's report? If not, we'll move on to the president's report. So you will be notified if we are having a meeting, if there's cause items to discuss on April 29th. Otherwise, at this point, and a location to be determined, it may be a Zoom call. May 20th at 6 p.m. will be a committee of the whole to work on the budget for the next fiscal year. And then we will follow that by our May 20th meeting. Any questions? And I would just like to remind anyone on the call, trustees who have not completed their statement of economic interest, the deadline for that is April 30th. Today is tax day. April 30th is your deadline for that. So in May, we will be doing the budget, and we have postponed Sandy's evaluation and discussion of anti-harassment policy, and that includes us. And then I'll be delighted to talk about my experience at PLA. So I think that is it on my report. I'll defer to our treasurer, Trustee Stahl.
Everything looks good.
Excellent. Trustee Luzon, any secretary's report for this evening?
Everything looks good.
I don't believe there are any committee reports. Any trustee comments? Okay, any items for information and or discussion by anyone?
No.
Yes?
No.
I heard a no. So then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
I so move.
Second.
May I have a second? Who was that, please? Okay, motion was made by Trustee Warren, seconded by Trustee Stoll. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. And I would like to thank everyone for their cooperation on doing the meeting in this manner. I think it's good that we all got together. I hope you are all doing well, staying healthy and being strong. And I want to thank each of you for making some great comments, participating. It is a little more intimidating to do things over the phone. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jerry.
bye.
Our